Всем привет and hi! И сегодняшний эпизод будет необычным, потому что говорить мы будем на русском и английском языках, преимущественно на английском. Наш сегодняшний гость родился и вырос в Нью Йорке, но потом жил в России, Украине и других странах Восточной Европы. И говорить мы будем на очень важную тему, а именно, как стать ближе к американской европейской культуре. Что нам, людям из Восточной Европы, стоит улучшить, чтобы выглядеть более дружелюбными, открытыми и найти так называемый culture fit. И в итоге получить заветную работу в международной компании и стать успешным в Европе и США. Ведь все мы знаем, что специалисты из Восточной Европы очень крутые в техническом плане, но часто валятся именно на своих soft skills. А также сегодня вы потренируете свои навыки английского языка. Поэтому не переключайтесь. С вами Анна Наумова, и вы на канале Продкаст, где мы обсуждаем продакт-менеджмент, карьеру в IT и переезд в США. Если вы хотите поддержать канал, идите на Boosty для подписки в рублях, Patreon, Venmo, PayPal для оплаты в долларах. Если вам нужна помощь с резюме, LinkedIn или в подготовке к интервью международной компании на английском языке, идите на мой веб-сайт annanaumova.com и записывайтесь ко мне на консультацию. Итак, мой сегодняшний гость – Питер Кауфман, communication coach and author of multiple programs about communication skills, Power Pitch, Soft Skills for Non-English Speakers. Hi, Peter, и привет, Петр. What's better?
Привет.
Привет. Thank you for joining. Спасибо, что присоединился. И tell me about yourself. What do you do? And if you can tell us about yourself in Russian, that
Да.
would be great. Да, расскажи, пожалуйста, о себе.
Конечно. Спасибо, Анна. Привет, я Питер. Родился в Нью-Йорке, в Манхэттене. И уже 10 лет я здесь, в Восточной Европе. 5 лет в Киеве. И 3 лет в Будапеште. И 2 лет в Польше. И тоже Берлин. И пару месяцев в Питере. Потом давно я здесь, в Восточной Европе. И вначале я создал театры на английском языке. И эта карьера был 5 лет. И более я меняется до карьеры, что говорить по-английски как премиум людей. Не только как я из России, я из Украины. Пожалуйста, я хочу работать. Но это як low status. Это як нерешительный, не як лидер. И потом я создал программы, курсы, уроки, что быть лидер на английском языке, что быть лидер на английском фирме, что быть лидер на продаж, что быть премиум. И это мой тема, и уже 4 рик, это украинский, 4 года в этим теме. И сегодня я в Львове, и потом не говорю просто русский, говорю по-суржику, шучу по-польски, шучу украинский, шучу русский. Потом этот подкаст будет на английском языке, но я понимаю русский, я понимаю украинский, я понимаю польский, я понимаю немецкий, венгерский. И это я, Питер.
Вот это да, обожаю реально, когда иностранцы, американцы говорят на русском языке, я понимаю, как это тяжело. Мы не будем мучить Питера и заставлять его говорить сегодня по-русски, потому что для меня и для Питера проще пообщаться на английском языке, но я думаю, ребят, вы все вы все поняли. Питер действительно знает русский, украинский, да, и другие восточноевропейские языки, что он действительно сейчас находится в Львове. Я надеюсь, что все сегодня будет у нас хорошо с сегодняшней записью. Итак, let's go. Thank you so much, Peter, for introducing yourself in English. I feel like how hard it is to speak a foreign language. So you can put yourself in our shoes,
Exactly.
Russian people who speak English. So, and definitely you need practice. So like the only reason why I can speak English pretty well is just because I live in the US and I work in American companies, and I dated with American guys, so I use my English a lot. So that's the only reason. It's easy for me. All right. So yeah, let's get to our topic today. Usually people move from Eastern Europe to the US, and you did the opposite. What was behind this decision?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I get that a lot. I get a lot of confusion, surprise, like, why are you here? You're from New York, the greatest city, you know? And the answer is, so I started my career in New York, and I was in finance. And from the movies, from Hollywood, you guys have this image of finance as being like the coolest, most fun job in the world, you know, partying all the time, having fun. And the truth is that work-life balance in America is awful.
Oh yeah.
It's if you know the word dystopia, I could even call the way Americans approach their careers as almost like a dystopia. There's no vacation, you can't get sick, you don't get any benefits. If you do get sick, you pay tens of thousands of dollars. And so, yeah, I mean, you know this from living in Texas. It's very difficult, and I got very lucky because I have a lot of family in Europe because, you know, my family's origin is from Budapest and from Poland and from Odessa. So I had a lot of exposure to the European mentality at a young age. And at some point I just said, do I want to wait until I'm 60 to enjoy my life? Or do I want to enjoy my life now? And as soon as I asked that my question, I was like, I'm gone. I'm out of here. I want to go enjoy my life right now. So I ended up in Budapest first because I have the most family there. And it was just a major fit. There were people who needed me. I like living there. I like the food. I like, you know, everything about it. So I've basically, you know, spent the next 10 years going deeper into this culture. So we have a phrase in English, the grass is always greener on the other side.
True.
I think you have a similar one in Russian, right?
Хорошо там, где нас нет.
Exactly. Yeah. It's better what we don't have, right?
Yeah.
But for some people, it's not always true, right? So it can't be true for both sides. So for me, living in Europe and working with American companies in a remote way or in a contractual way is probably the best of both worlds. And that's how I live my life.
Oh yeah, I feel you. I definitely feel you. And I've been living in the US for 7 years, and I can say that, I don't know, like the majority of my time here, I was battling and like fighting with this system. Yeah, medical system, health system, like finance, bank, mortgage, everything. Like even like the simple task, for example, someone hit my car like recently and I need to apply for the insurance. I spent so much time calling the insurance and talking to them and spelling my name. It's so hard for Americans to pronounce my last name, Naumova, and they are like, "Oh, can you spell me?" N as in Nancy, A is an apple. Oh my gosh, it's like I spent like, I don't know, 2 hours on the phone, like by talking to people, and yeah, and everything related to money. Life is so expensive here. You need to earn a lot of money to kind of survive. So, and yeah, I definitely feel you, and yeah, maybe one day I will do the same decision like you did and move somewhere from the United States. But anyway, my channel today and my topic today is about the United States. If you still want to move, relocate to United States, yeah, keep listening to this video. All right. You work a lot with Russian speakers. What difference do you see in our communication style?
I think we're going to spend a lot of time here, Anna. I think this is going to be the meat of what we talk about today.
This might be like 10 minutes, okay? 10 minutes because we have a lot of things to discuss today.
Okay, so let's dive in. There's a lot of differences and a lot of similarities. So I first want to put it into context. Culturally, we're more similar than not similar. So, for example, when you think about India, right? Like if you think about someone wants to outsource software to a country, right? Are they going to outsource to Poland or are they going to outsource to India? Well, when they choose Eastern Europe, they're choosing it because the culture is actually very similar in many ways to American culture.
Interesting.
Much closer than India, which has a totally different relationship with time and expectations and stuff like that. So the differences aren't in, I would say, culture, they're more in the communication. And there's a lot to get into, but I would say the number one thing that's relevant to us talking about adapting to American culture and getting jobs in American companies and living the American dream, the big difference is that Americans, can I curse on this podcast? Is it okay to use some language?
Yeah, absolutely.
Americans do not give a shit. We don't give a shit about mistakes. We don't care. If you actually look at my speech, I do not use correct English at all. You guys probably spent a month. Yeah, like grammar. Like you guys probably spent a month learning
grammar
whom, for whom. I have never said whom in my whole life. I refuse. It's like ridiculous to me. So we really don't care. And the thing is, you guys, your language systems your communication systems are very sort of structured and rigorous, right? So you like saying things in very long ways. You don't say like, Kievians, you say people from the beautiful city of Kiev, like you can't like shorten things in Russian or Ukrainian or Polish. So there's a tendency to want to be accurate and precise and sincere, искренности, right? And we just don't do that in American. We care more about positivity, we care more about energy, and we care more about having fun and being loose and relaxed. And so if you can get on that wavelength and view the conversation as not so much about being accurate, but more about having fun and enjoying the conversation and cooperating as opposed to competing, right? Then you're already like miles ahead of where you were when you think about language and communication as a process of accuracy. That makes sense.
I definitely agree with you, and it's really cool that you mentioned that because yes, Russian people usually spend so much time on learning grammar, and like Russian language is pretty complex, and you need to really use like some sophisticated construction, grammar, words, adjectives, like whatever. And when Russian people start speaking English, they try to translate this phrase into English, and it sounds so weird in English. And English language for me is so straightforward and simple. I go to the grocery store. Period. Yeah. And in Russia you can say, я тут подумал и собрался, и вот подумал о том, что надо сходить ли мне в магазинчик, а может быть и нет, blah. Yeah, it is like, it looks so, complicated. So it's actually super straightforward. And I remember one great example with my ex-boyfriend. He was American. And I asked him to correct me at the beginning of our relationship. I said, please correct my mistakes. And he said, Anna, why? Why should I correct your mistakes? You speak really well. I understand you. Why should I do that? Like, I can understand that. And I said, because I do mistakes. He said, I don't care. Yeah. You can make a lot of mistakes. I do mistakes. Yeah. Why should I and it was like awkward situation because he didn't understand why he should correct me. And I didn't understand why he shouldn't correct me. Yeah, that's and also the second example with his parents, and I described them how we learned English and about present perfect tense, what the difference between present perfect and past simple. And they couldn't understand me, like, why present perfect? What that? Yeah. So they didn't even know that this name of these tenses that we learn. So they, I have gone, I went, what? It doesn't matter. Yeah. It's actually about the same. Yeah. No one cares about that. Yeah. And for me, it was a big surprise that they don't know. Yeah. They don't know about this perfect present continuous blah blah blah, like whatever. So yeah, I totally understand you. And so Americans, so just like to summarize, American don't care, don't give a fuck, shit, whatever about mistakes. Yeah, just be simple. Don't translate your sophisticated Eastern European language into English. What else?
I would add one thing. So you have to know when are we simpler and when are we less simple, because there's that question of directness, right? Because there's some ways where the Americans will be much more straightforward and direct, but there's other places where we will never be direct, and that's with giving our opinion, giving our negative opinion, right?
Feedback.
Feedback, right? So there's a big topic about American bullshit. It's a whole language, it's a whole other language, right? And how do you get around it, right? So in Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, you can say, I don't like your shirt, it's crap. Like, why would you wear this? It looks like something my grandmother would wear. What are you doing, right? Like, you can pretty much just say how you feel, right? And in America, we would never do that. Well, that's not true. I mean, there's some times, but you have to really be good friends to get to that level where you can, like, kind of be direct with each other. So it's about, there's just different cultural expectations, right? So when you're approaching sensitive topics or negative feedback or saying, hey, I disagree with you, then yes, you do have to be more roundabout and you do have to know how to do that. So it's about developing that instinct, right? But there's a bigger idea here, because like you said, and this is true for most people, which is you only learned this when you moved to Texas and you dated an American man and you worked at Apple and you just had so much exposure. And the truth is that there's a shortcut to that, is you don't anymore need to really go immerse yourself. It does help for sure. But if you really stay focused, not on the logic of the relationship, but the emotions, right? Like, if you say something and you see that your partner or your boss or your team member is like they're shocked by what you say, well, then well, I have to correct something. Then it's like, how do I work this? So the problem with staying with thinking about grammar and accent even and like vocabulary is you miss the basic thing, which is, do they look happy by what you say or do they look sad by what you say? And if you follow that in the conversation, if you follow that when you're interviewing, right? If you follow that when you're asking your boss for a promotion, it's going to be a GPS signal for you. And you don't need to think so much about what did Peter say about this. Yeah, you just say, oh, he likes it, he doesn't like it. What do I need to do next? Right? How do I handle that? So it's about relationship skills.
Yeah, I like your point that pay attention to emotions. Yeah, I think that's super important, like regardless what the other person said. So also like my ex-boyfriend today's example again, just another example about feedback. Sometimes he didn't eat my food that I cooked, but he never said me that, Anna, I didn't like your food. So he said, Anna, I like your food. Your food is so delicious, so tasty. Everything is fine, but he didn't eat it. And for me, it was like, why you didn't just say me that you don't like my food? Like, he never said that. He couldn't say that. He just didn't eat it. Yeah. And that for me, it was a clue. Like, okay, if he didn't eat it, probably he didn't like it, but he couldn't say that because of the cultural differences. That's how he was educated. Yeah. To that was
100%. Yeah.
Okay.
Even
Okay.
I still struggle with this. It still makes me very uncomfortable to just directly say I don't like that. Like if
Yeah.
someone was being nice, if someone was doing like a favor, it makes me very uncomfortable to say it in any language. So it's
Yeah.
it's
And for
something we
me,
all
it's
have
so
to deal with.
confusing because I got used to that, like hearing that negative feedback, direct feedback. Oh, I don't like your food. Period. Yeah. For me, it's easier to accept this feedback than this just avoiding to provide a feedback. For me, it's so confusing. So I need to learn like the cultural difference to understand, okay, he didn't want to hurt me. He didn't want to play with me. He just couldn't do that because of his origin. Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, that makes sense. Cool. So which mistakes in communication do we usually make, like Russian people, I mean Russian speakers, people from Eastern Europe? You already said about like direct and indirect feedback. Maybe something else we did that's kind of get this awkward situation. Yeah.
There's a big one. And again, I want to frame this as it's not about accuracy of information. It's about how you express emotion when you speak. And I can give you super simple example, okay? Let's say you're from Moscow, right? So let's say you're in Moscow and you see your friend Oleg across the street and you just want to shout to him to get his attention, right? You would probably say something like Oleg, Oleg,
Hey,
right?
hey, Олег!
Yeah.
Привет!
Uh-huh. So when you want to get someone's attention, when you want to really grab someone, you say, "Hey, Oleg," and it goes, the emphasis is at the end. Oleg, Oleg, right? Now, if you saw that same friend Oleg in Texas and you want to get his attention, you say, Oleg, Oleg,
The
right?
first, yeah.
Yeah. Now, really small difference, but if you think about it, in the really basics of communication, right? This is what you do when you want to grab someone's attention, right? Whether it's across the street in Texas or whether it's on a call where I don't know, maybe they're like checking their phone or their emails and not giving you their attention and you want to be like, "Let's go." Right? There is this leadership, there's this taking charge tone and it's different in each language, right? So I actually call it the San Francisco rule because I first noticed it when I heard people saying how they wanted to go live in San Francisco. San Francisco, right? Because in Russian you jump the E, San Francisco, right? And it
And in
sounds
American?
really strange. San Francisco. San Francisco, San Francisco, right? So
Okay. My
you
cat
hear it?
is, yeah, just sorry. My cat is trying to jump into this, my table. Yeah, I'm here.
He's getting excited for the San Francisco rule.
Yeah, San Francisco. Okay.
Yeah. So when you get excited, right? So does the throat, so your accent, your voice lives in your body, okay? So English grammar lives in your head. English communication lives in your body, right? So if you think about what your throat is doing, San Francisco, San Francisco, it's really, does your throat move up or does your throat move down when you emphasize?
I try. Can we do exercise with me? I'm a little
Yeah.
bit confused. Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
should
So
I say
take
San Francisco? San Francisco.
San Francisco, San
San
Francisco, right?
Francisco.
It's still going up a little bit. So
Yeah.
if you
Okay.
want something to
San
relax, do you ever play the
Francisco.
guitar?
No, I
Better,
have.
yeah.
San
Do you ever
Francisco.
like, yeah, that's it. That's it. So if you want something, so basically a guitar has strings, right?
Yeah.
And if you want the string to go higher, you tighten it, right? You can tighten the string to make
Yeah.
it go higher and you loosen it to make it go lower, right? So with your throat, if you relax your throat, then your voice gets lower, right? So just try relaxing. San Francisco, San Francisco.
San Francisco. San Francisco. San Francisco. Oh gosh, so hard. Even for me,
It's
like,
getting there. Yeah.
So I just missed your point. Like, we talk about mistakes in communication, but this, like, we talk about emphasizing some syllables and voice. Just can you wrap it up
so
for me?
these are the things that matter. So let me give you like if I want to introduce, if I'm interviewing at Netflix, okay, so FANG interview, right? Netflix.
Okay.
Hello, my name is Piotr, and I want to interview at Netflix because I think they do very good products, and I'm so excited to be here today, right? So again, stereotype, but kind of close to what someone might sound like if they were like excited to, I'm so excited to be at Netflix.
Okay,
right?
emotions. Yeah, no emotions. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you get excited and you're expressing that, then your voice just jumps and it sounds super awkward. And we're like, what? Netflix? Oh, Netflix, right? So you have to learn to express an emotion in a way that we really understand it the first time, right? So rather
And what's
than
this correct way to say like this phrase, like as an American? Just can you give an example with Netflix?
Yeah. Hey, nice to meet you. I'm Peter, and I'm really excited to be here at Netflix today because I love what you guys do, and I think I'd be an excellent part of the team.
It sounds pretty
So
natural, but your emotions, yeah. So I'm trying to catch your emotions. So it's still like we preserve for me your emotions, that the way how you said that. Maybe I'm not American and I cannot feel that. It's really hard for me to feel that. So, but you mean that the way how the person from in first example from Eastern Europe said, this expression is not as emotional as the second way how American said, right? Is that
it's you're being emotional at the expense of two things. So there's really three things that we want to communicate. Okay. One is confidence.
Yeah.
Right. Two is the emotion, and three is clarity. And so the biggest problem is that if you're really expressing Russian language excitement, number one is you're instantly losing clarity. Because your emphasis pattern is the opposite, and that makes it very hard to follow unless you're used to the Russian accent.
So instead of like Netflix, I said Netflix.
Netflix, right? It's just weird, right? It's hard to follow, right? If you say,
I think nobody pronounce Netflix like Netflix, so I've never heard that. I think that
maybe not that example, but I can tell you, I once coached a company, a half American, half Russian company called Gridgain, and the engineers would introduce themselves as, "I am from Gridgain."
Gridgain. It should be like Gridgain.
Gridgain, exactly. So, look, maybe Netflix doesn't happen, but I guarantee you that you're doing something like that, and it's costing you clarity. It's costing you the ability to be understood.
Good example, Florida. Russian people call it Florida. Exactly. Good example. Yeah, I understand what you mean. Like Florida, yeah, people from Eastern Europe usually call like Florida, and it's actually Florida. Yeah.
Yeah. And
what New York, New York. Yeah. In English, it's like New York on the first syllable. And people from Eastern Europe say New York. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. I see what you mean.
So people will understand you, but it will take them an extra 2 seconds. And if it takes them an extra 2 seconds to understand you, they're not listening to you, they're understanding you. And the true origin of charisma, the true origin of good communication is that people should be listening and understanding and agreeing with you at the same time. If listening and understanding are separate functions when they're talking to you, you're not going to be taken as a premium person, right? It's going to be a big minus. It's going to be a big minus for cultural fit because we can't understand you, right? So
perfect insight. So listening, understanding, and agreeing at the same time. So if they don't do that at the same time, you're losing this credibility. I don't know, premium. How do you call that?
Exactly. It's credibility as an expert because people don't understand you, and also credibility as culture because you don't feel like you're one of us. Like, for example, когда я говорю по-русски, правда у меня акцент, но ты чувствуешь, что хорошо, что я понимаю тебя, я жил в своей стране. Почему? Поэтому ударение чувствуешь как нормально. Если ударение не чувствуешь как нормально, это Texas русский. Привет, я Питер, right? Это чувствуешь стране, это чувствуешь не близко, так? So you see what I'm saying is the emphasis will create that feeling that I understand you. And if it's wrong, it creates a feeling like I don't understand you.
And you're right. When you're speaking, I need extra time, to understand you. So because it's not like 100% clear for me. I still need to just like think, okay, what did he mean? Like just to create this chain. Yeah, maybe you mispronounce some word because you also speak like Russian, Ukrainian, like Polish at the same time. So I need to just connect these dots and understand, okay, which words did he mean? Like to understand the whole meaning. Yeah, I understand what you mean. So that's about like clarity. Yeah. So you need to speak clear. So, and talking about just speaking clear, what people need to do to speak clearly?
Slow down. Take pauses. Correct emphasis, like we just talked about. If there is an actual problem, if there is an actual accent problem, pronunciation problem, then fix it. But usually there is not an accent problem. And be present. Be talking to a person, not a screen.
What was that? Oh, I meant like if it's like a Zoom call, I need to still pretend that I'm talking to the human, right?
Yeah, rather than like a checklist or like a script. So like if you're interviewing, right? If you're going into an interview and you memorize what you want to say, as I said, people need to be feeling and understanding you at the same time. So if you're reading from a script, we're not feeling you. We're feeling like you're a robot, right? So even if you do script it, you need to be delivering it to an actual person if you want them to understand it. It's just basic human psychology. It will feel weird. It will feel like, what is he saying? Even if it's perfect pronunciation, even if it's perfect text, if you're not delivering it to someone, a real person, they're not going to understand it. It's just going to feel weird.
Okay. Interesting. So how to avoid this awkward situation? Yeah, you already mentioned like to be clear, like slow down, emphasis, pauses, accent and pronunciation, and be present. Maybe anything else you can advise how to avoid this like situation that being alien or weird? What should we improve in our way to communicate with Americans?
Yeah, it's a big topic. To be honest, at the end of the day, you need feedback, and that's the only way to do it. But there are some patterns, and small talk is going to be the big one.
Let's talk about it. Small talk. I think that's the big topic, and actually, that's like a lot of people hate it. So tell me about small talk and why it's important.
Yeah, it's important because this is kind of how Americans sniff each other out, right? So, maybe in Russia or Ukraine, it's like the car you drive or the watch you wear or your title, right? Like if you have a doctor, I'm Dr. Peter, right? That might give you some status. But in America, again, we don't care. We don't care if you're a PhD or a doctor, right? So small talk is one of these ways where we see who you are. We see what your status is. We see if we like you or not. We see if we respect you or not. So it's not about, I studied biology for 5 years and now I am chemist, right? It's, Yeah, man, I love the way, I love those glasses. Those frames are good. Like, where'd you get them? Gucci, right? Like all this fake stuff, it's not fake, it's demonstrating your experience, who you are, your sensitivity, your confidence, right? It's a game. It's not about a resume.
Demonstrate your experience and who you are. That's actually good explanation of small talks. So because I usually said small talks is needed to break the ice, to set up the relationship,
Yep.
but now you said that it's like to demonstrate who you are. So if you're actually like educated person, you probably won't jump into the conversation right after that. So you're gonna maybe select the topic to discuss during these small talks that you prefer, not about like I don't know, whatever. Yeah, if you're really like my glasses and you notice that this is Gucci, you probably emphasize that you know the Gucci brand and probably you aware of the Gucci brand. You're familiar with that. Yeah. So something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Interesting.
And
Interesting.
whether it's true or not, it's just we Americans will love to throw in these. We're trying to create an impression that we know things, people know us. Like that's why we do a lot of. Okay, have you ever gotten an experience where you say you're from Moscow, and then someone's like, "Oh, I know someone from Moscow. Maybe
Oh
you're
yeah.
friends."
Yeah. And
Yeah.
also I usually hear, even now during this war, I hear, oh, I've never been to Russia. I want to go there. What? I'm so confused of this expression. Yeah.
Exactly. So
What is
why
that?
is that?
Yeah.
They're trying to create an impression like their experience, they're traveled, they know people, right? They're trying to create the social proof. And
Yeah.
we don't think about it. It's just natural. We just do it, right?
Yeah.
You
So the
know,
person actually doesn't want
vacations,
to go
travel.
to Russia. Yeah, especially now during this war. For me, it's just it's so confusing because first, do you hear? Do you know what's going on in Europe? Why do you want to go to Russia? People usually hate Russian right now. So and you don't like. And are you okay? Yeah. Maybe you don't care. Maybe you really like Russia. I don't know. So for me, it's so confusing when people say like, "Oh, I've never been to Russia. I want to go there." To help me to learn Russian language. What? Yes.
Yeah, and then exactly, that's a typical American thing to do is like, yeah, you teach me Russian one day. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not,
What's
there's no
like
sincerity here.
yeah. What's
It's just a
привет? Like,
game, you
yeah.
know?
Yeah. What's and Americans usually know only one word, like na здоровье. Yeah. Oh, I know Russian. Yeah, I know that. This like на здоровье. Or how's
Yep.
hi in Russia? Like привет. Oh, привет, привет. How is bye in Russia? Пока, пока, пока. Yeah. Hello. Yeah.
Yep.
So it's really so weird for me, especially like at the current time. Like hearing that is so yeah, so confusing for me, really.
Yeah. And the truth is, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't
Like the
matter,
war
yeah.
doesn't change anything. They're never going to go to Russia, but it's
Yeah.
not going to change how they talk to you about it because that's
Yeah.
just how we act, right? So the question then becomes, well, if you've never been to America or you've only been there 2, 3 years or even 7 years, well, how do you do it? And you have to kind of build like a reference experiences, right? So, Tennessee, right? If you meet someone from Tennessee, you should understand, like, are there sports teams there? Are there
Mm-hmm.
Elvis, right? Tennessee is Elvis, right? Or, if you know the football teams or the college football teams or the barbecue or you just kind of build reference experiences. And so the next time someone says Tennessee, you're like, oh yeah, like my cousin goes to Vanderbilt. Like, they did really well in the March Madness this year. Right. And then they're like, oh yeah, Tennessee's awesome. You should, and then they'll say, you should come one day. I'll show you around. Do they mean that? No, but it demonstrates that they accept you. Right.
Yeah.
So it's a game.
Yeah. That's a really a good advice. Like for people who are going to interview with the American companies, first, yeah, accept that you have to have like to do these small talks.
Mhm.
And second, learn about your interviewer, like at least like which city they are, to just have this small talk, something about like state or city, or you're from Seattle. Yeah, I've been to Seattle a couple times, or something. What's going on in Seattle? I don't know. So like whatever, like
It's
the weather
raining.
in Seattle, like, it's raining.
It's
Yeah, the
raining.
weather in Seattle is So maybe something positive. Yeah, just learn. Yeah, about Texas. Oh, I like barbecue from Texas. Or yeah, so Texas. What's here? I don't know. I'm a bad Texan person. So, but at least it's super hot in Texas. Yeah. So that's usually about Russia. People ask me, it's so cold in Russia. Yeah, like depends. Yeah, depends. Depends on the which part of Russia you are. Yeah, it might be cold. It might be hot. Yeah. It depends on the season. So yeah, that's the conversation about nothing. I had a call with a Russian guy recently, like a consultation, and we started this call, and he jumped immediately to the topic. Right, like from the first, I don't know, second, he jumped into the topic. He said, "Okay, Anna, we need to do that, and that." Okay, hold on. Yeah, if you're going to apply for American company, we need to spend like 5 minutes, first 5 minutes about talking about nothing. And he said, "This is waste of my time." Yeah, this is not waste of your time. This is like this is the rule of this is the rule how you need to behave, like act. If you want to work for American company, you have to accept that first minute for you is a waste of time. So it doesn't mean that we need to spend all hour of our meeting on like super important topics like work hard. Yeah, we have 5 minutes for small talk, 5 minutes at the end to small talks, I don't know, whatever. We have like 45 minutes, for example, for actual conversation. So,
And then when you can get to the next shift, which is not just to view it as it's a waste of time and I accept it, but actually to strategize about it and to get a lot out of it. So one time I was working with a Ukrainian entrepreneur who was creating a company based around like co-working spaces near ski resorts. Right? Like it's an interesting idea. He raised like 2.5 million for it, and it's going pretty well. But they pivoted, but they're in Mexico now. It's all good. And what we built a strategy around doing small talk based on skiing and hiking and doing small talk based around activities, and then using that to transition to, well, like, have you ever gotten an important call while you're on your skiing trip and had to drop everything and do work? Well, like, what if you had a dedicated soundproof space with all of your office needs just like 50 feet away from the ski slope? So that's what we do, right? So we were able to strategize around small talk and really get the most out of it, because you don't have a choice. You're going to be doing it anyway. So you might as well strategize.
That's a great advice. Cool. Okay, so we talk about some negative stuff. Let's do what's called in American like sandwich. Positive. Talk about positive traits. What are our strengths? Which skills are attractive for Americans?
A lot. You have a lot going for you. The number one being the work ethic. Is people know you guys work your ass off. And as I said at the beginning, like it's a very stark difference to people's experience with like Indian outsourcing. Like I do a lot of work with outsourcing companies, with like sales for them, and every prospect has a bad experience with like Indian outsourcing companies. They use words like lazy and behind schedule, and that's not the impression people have of Eastern Europe. People have the impression very hardworking, don't complain, get the job done, right? And that's a huge asset, and it is part of the culture. It's you guys don't complain. You view hard work as necessary, and it definitely fits well with the American culture. And it's huge.
So that's what I've heard from my ex-boss. He said, "Anna, you're not complaining." Yeah, like when it's a drama around, all Americans in companies started like dramatize everything about some I don't know situation. It's a lot of drama around that. Anna kept doing her work. just like with a poker face, like, okay, whatever.
Yep.
So I need to make my work done. So, and yeah, that's true. And also, yeah, I noticed that Americans are so sensitive about that, like negative feedback or something like that we discussed before. If I tell someone something just unpleasant in the wrong way, Americans are usually like so sensitive. I got complaints from my coworker about that I gave him feedback. But when someone else gave me feedback like the same, I'm not kind of, it doesn't hurt me. Because I just, I don't know. I understand that, feedback might be different, might be negative, positive, and I got used to negative feedback and then like straightforward, like direct feedback. So that's why it didn't hurt me. So yeah, it was like so like a lot of like drama on that side from that my coworker about just like me giving him not like pleasant feedback in the right way. So yeah.
So you have to think about like, how do we view that? We view it as a huge advantage because it's one of those things which hits a switch of like manager material, because you're able to grow, right? And it's kind of necessary. The downside is that if you don't develop the empathetic American style, is even though you're manager material, you can't really be a manager because you don't have that instinct, right? So it's one of the reasons we see a lot of, let's say, senior engineers, right, and technical managers being Eastern European in the States. Like a lot of Eastern Europeans will get promoted within the technical fields where it's okay to be a bit more direct. On the other hand, when you see like people manager sides, like, HR departments and chief people officers, like you're not seeing so many Russian speakers getting promoted in that side of the field, right? So actually, usually they're the ones hiring me to go train the Russian speakers in those skills. But it's good. It's good for my business, but there's just a growth mindset. You guys are always learning, and it's great.
Yeah, that's a good point, because when people come to me and ask to help with their resume, and they just, for example, they've been applying for a job and couldn't get any results. So, and I check their resume and they're promoting themselves as like director of product, CPO, like chief product officer. This is a like managerial position. And what American companies need for this position is like people manager, right? You need to have these specific communication styles to be a manager for like all people, not only Americans, but Indians, like Asian, whatever, who work for this company. And that's like a huge lag between people from Eastern Europe who were managers in Eastern Europe, and then they want to move to the US and want to keep this career, but it's not always possible because of their communication style, how to manage people and from multiple cultures. So you need to understand not only American culture, you need to understand like all other immigrants' culture. So that's a big gap between managers in Eastern Europe and in the US. So I always recommend, not always, like I usually recommend, if they don't have, I don't know, a lot of experience working in the American companies, and if they want to switch to be like kind of a leader in the US, just like maybe downgrade a bit to acquire this culture fit and then grow. So if they were managers, like directors in Eastern Europe, switch to senior position, at least like non-managerial, how to pronounce that? Managerial position in the US, work for like few years, acquire these skills, communication skills, and grow to managerial positions. So that's a big gap.
It's certainly, if your ego can handle it, it's a great thing to do.
But
the ego gets in the way of that a lot. Another way would be, there's lots of companies that were founded in Eastern Europe, like PandaDoc, Miro, like a lot of these companies that ended up, they go to the West, they get investment, and then the C-suite becomes American, right?
Yeah.
And you have a Belarusian company which got $1 billion valuation, and then all of the executives become American, and then you can get promoted within one of those companies and learn the skills that way, and then go to a pure American company. That's another way to do it without going down. But it is something which takes work. Because as you said, you need to develop a flexibility where you can handle all cultures, and that requires you need to get really comfortable not having an opinion right away, right? So if someone says something, you have to get in the habit at that level of not responding with how you feel, but first asking 10 questions and understanding what they really mean, right? Before you're able to work with it, you have to dig and say, okay, like, where is this coming from? What do you want? What do you need? What's blocking you? And you basically have to become a coach in your mindset, because if you're in that position and you're always being like, that's wrong, let's do it this way, you're going to get in a lot of trouble real quick.
Yeah, you will lose your employees, and your employees will complain on you. And for companies, more like it's risky to have you in this leadership position, to like, in order to lose like their stuff. Very expensive, actually, if we talk about like engineers, software engineers.
Yep, for sure.
Cool. So my channel audience is mostly job seekers in American and European countries. What can you recommend them to prepare better for the interview? So related to their soft skills.
You need to record yourself and watch yourself.
Perfect. Yeah. That's what I usually tell everyone. Just record yourself and you can hear yourself, how you sound. Yeah. Record yourself and watch yourself. What exactly do they pay attention on this recording?
So that's the tricky thing, is you don't pay attention to the recording. And this, it's a little, you follow me for a second because it's very trippy, but you have to not follow what you're saying, but you have to follow what you're feeling as you're watching yourself. So let's say you go watch yourself and you're like, oh, I can't believe I said that. Oh, I'm such an idiot, right? So that needs to change. The way you talk to yourself needs to change, because confidence, that impression you're making, it doesn't really come from what you're saying. It comes from how you feel about what you're saying, right? You can talk about your failures all day, and if you do it with a little smile on, and like, yeah, like though that was a crazy mistake I made, I can't believe I made that, it was so silly, right? And you come off super cool. But if you say, oh yeah, I made this mistake one day and it was so bad, right? Then you're not going to get the job, because they can see that you can't handle the failure. So you need to watch. So
you mean like I should talk about my failure with like positive emotions? That's what you mean?
Exactly. Yeah, it's all about the emotion underneath.
Yeah. So, and here I have a feeling that I might look like not serious person. Yeah, about my failure. Oh, it doesn't matter. Hey, I made a mistake. Yeah. So if I gonna like smile when talking about my mistake, like people might not consider me as a serious person. Yeah.
But what emotion is that when you say, oh yeah, I made a mistake? Like, what emotion? That's not positivity. It's something else.
Yeah, I was playing. I'm a bad actor.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's dismissive. You're being dismissive of the failure.
Okay.
And yes, then you look bad. So I mean, the first thing I do with all of my students, I've been doing, this is day one, is, do you know that classic feelings wheel picture? The big circle of emotions?
Maybe I don't remember. But what kind of emotion there? Like just basic emotion, like anger?
anger, happiness, sadness, disgust, dismissive,
Okay.
skepticism.
Okay.
It's everything, right?
Okay.
And what you do is you watch yourself speaking, and then you point. It's like, okay, what emotion am I communicating now? And
Okay.
everything needs to be purposeful, right? So if you're being dismissive, you lose. If you're being angry, you lose, right? There's really a few choices you have. You can be optimistic, you can be proud, you can be powerful, you can be like skeptical, right? So notice the difference between yeah, that was stupid. That's dismissiveness is yeah, that was stupid. And skeptical is yeah, that wasn't a great idea, right? And there's a big difference in the emotion behind it. And you have to have this combination of happiness, positivity, optimism with a little bit of skepticism or a little bit of like regret. It's just a little bit. And that's how you maintain both the things you're looking for, which is the truthiness and also the confidence.
Interesting. So I know that you have a school, but maybe, and we will talk about your school a little bit later, but maybe you can recommend something to read about that. That's emotion wheel, you call that?
Yeah, the
I
feelings wheel,
personally,
and this is something that I've kind of invented for this type of work. I don't know if it exists anywhere else, but there's
oh,
plenty of yeah, like this is my innovation, but there's plenty of other like books about other things. You know, it's just when you talk about sub communication, right? So it's sub communication is what you're communicating under the words, and the idea that it's fundamentally the emotions. I haven't seen it anywhere else that I can recommend. But there's classic things like Cialdini Influence, and he has a great LinkedIn page where he gives great tips. Like for persuasion and confidence things, there's like so many channels that are great. Just for the feelings wheel, I'm not sure I can recommend anything.
Okay, but can you recommend any books or links, other resources to learn about these topics? I think that would be super helpful for our users.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If you want to learn
viewers.
about persuasion, Cialdini Influence is the best. Always has been, always will be. It was in the 1970s. It's like classic. And as I said, he has a great LinkedIn channel. So like he's always giving good practical tips. Like I follow him. If you want, I find Charisma on Command. It has some issues with it, but it's normally pretty good, especially for like base level confidence interview stuff like that. You know, it depends on the topic. I can recommend something, you know, if you give me a topic.
Yeah, we will attach, I will reach out to you after this interview, and I will ask you for some resources you can provide me, and I will attach it to the description of this video. All right, so tell me about your school. I know that you teach English, and also communication style and pitches. What problems do people from Eastern Europe usually come to you with? What are their main goals?
Yeah, it's pretty much what we've been talking about today. It's about winning conversations. It's about winning interviews, winning promotions, winning sales, winning investment. It's about getting the job done. So I don't really teach English. I've never taught vocabulary in my life, and I never will. So it's not about vocabulary. It's
grammar.
About how.
Yeah, it's not
Fuck that.
London
it's not going to help
is
you.
The capital of the Great Britain.
London
no?
is the capital of Great Britain. Exactly. Yeah.
No. Okay.
So it's more about things like, hey, when I talk with my German colleagues, everything is great, but when the British manager walks in the room, I can't speak. You know, that's like a classic thing. When I talk to Germans, yeah, we can talk English all day, but when a British guy walks in the room, it's like, oh no, I can't do anything, right?
Because British is a native speaker and German is not, right?
Exactly. So there's expectations, and this is the root of all evil. When you put that expectation and that judgment on yourself, then you can't speak because you're afraid. And when you're talking to a German who also speaks intermediate English, it's easy. You're all are just loose and having fun. And it's about how do you stay loose and have fun with the Americans, with the British guys. And as I kind of the repeating theme here is if you can get to that point where you can laugh and joke even if you don't understand the words, that's most of the battle right there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Does that make sense?
That's great. Yeah. And I think if you cannot understand something, you can always ask to repeat. Like, can you say that again? I usually use it. Yeah, I usually ask people to repeat because sometimes I cannot understand people with different accents, and I don't feel embarrassed of asking people to repeat, even during the interview. Can you repeat the question, please? Yeah.
There's better ways. So like if we were in a coaching session right now, I would have you on camera and notice that when you say please, right, what you're doing is you're putting on this cute persona, which is and that's basically the death of all credibility, right? Like if you're in a negotiation and you're like, please, it's about English, yes, but it does kill your credibility. So, like one of the things I teach people day one would be, don't ask to repeat them. What you do is you say the word you didn't understand with skepticism in your voice. So if they say ishkabibble, which is just a fake word, ishkabibble, you say ishkabibble.
What? Right? What should I say?
So if they say a word you don't understand,
yes,
you just repeat it
with
an emotion. Yeah.
Okay, but interesting, because I feel that I don't understand because of my listening skills. So not because like the people mispronounce this word, but I have some like trouble. I might have some troubles with listening, especially different accents. So that's like.
Do you see how it puts all of the work on you?
Yes, yeah. I blame myself. I blame myself.
Yeah.
Not being able to understand people. Yeah.
You basically speak fluent English. You're fine. You don't you look, if someone speaks to you and you don't understand, that's their problem. Because you speak English. So if you don't understand, they fucked up.
Interesting.
And that's the attitude, right? And so that's the attitude of I'm in charge here. That's the attitude of I'm a leader. That's the attitude of take me seriously. And it's just about how do you do that? And the thing is, you just don't take the pressure on yourself. They're talking to you. You have the value because you're the one giving the value. If they aren't communicating properly, they should take the time and try it again. And you shouldn't feel bad about that at all.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a great advice. I need to memorize it and think about it. Yeah, that's probably I need your coaching session. we can exchange something.
Anytime. I can send you a lot of material over. No problem.
Yeah. Send me, please. So I still need, like, even considering that I've been living in the US for 7 years and communicating with Americans a lot, I still have room for improvement. So I know that, especially when I want to go to a managerial position. Definitely, I need to improve my communication styles, the way how I provide feedback, the way how I influence people, etc. Yeah. So yeah, that's great, and it's super essential for interviews. So when you're having interviews with someone, yeah, you're right. You need to be in a like leadership position.
Yeah. I have one more thing. It's a good reframe for a lot of your audience, which is if you're interviewing for a position and there's an American and there's you, right? You are better. And I can prove it to you because the person who grew up in America grew up speaking English, grew up with the education, grew up with the social circle, grew up with the expectations, right? And you grew up most likely in very difficult times, right? Political dysfunction, wars, like, not speaking English, not having the entrepreneurial culture, right? Having to learn it your own way. So if you're in the same conversation, you have more value by definition because they didn't have to learn everything you had to learn. So you have more value, right? And if you can just approach the interview with that mindset, then the interviewer will feel it subconsciously and already want to say yes to you.
That's a great advice. You're better. So
you are, by mathematically.
Remember,
yeah.
And
this is my mission, right? This is why I like to work with Eastern Europeans, because you guys are so smart. Like you look at all of the influential people in America are Hungarians who moved to America, Ukrainians who moved to America, Romanians who moved to America. So it's a question of what is that thing that happens when you move to America, and how can we make it happen faster? And how can we make it happen even if you don't move to America? Right?
Yeah.
So that's the problem I'm trying to solve.
Yeah, that's true. And being an immigrant is a big deal. It's a big challenge in your life. And if you overcome this challenge, you're definitely better. So I know a lot of Americans who never been abroad, even with American passport and being able to travel easily. They've never been abroad. And that surprised me a lot here. So why? Yeah, and they said, why do I need that? I have ocean. I have, like in Florida, I have snow in Denver, Colorado. I have, I don't know, forest, trains, whatever I want. I have everything here in the United States. Why do I need to travel even to Mexico? So it's so like surprising for me. So and we are an immigrant.
It's a weird mentality.
Yeah.
All right. It's a great question. I think sounds like we'll have to leave that a mystery, but it's a great question.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Peter, so much. That was very insightful. And I really like our conversation. I need to digest what we discussed today, because after each my interview, I have a lot of insights in my head that I really want to apply in the future. So that was definitely one of the best, insightful interview. Thank you so much again. And I will leave your contact information at the description to this video. It's like for people who want to reach out to you, have a coaching session with you, for people who want to improve their communication skills, pitching, sales, interviewing skills also. So they can reach out to you, and thank you so much. And if you like this video, please like, comment. If you have any comments, subscribe to the channel and share this video with your friends. Also, I have another video in English with Bird where we discuss accents. So if you want to learn more about accents, and actually spoiler, your accent is not important. So please watch this video, and I will attach the link to this video to the description to this video. Also, I have YouTube channel in English. So if you want to watch my videos in English, please also subscribe to Podcast US. And if you want a mock interview in English for American companies, and now you hear my American accent, American Russian accent, so you can reach out to me, and I can help you. Thank you so much. And thank you, Peter, again. And thank you, everyone who watched this video.